baby! Welcome to Cooking with SonicBlu, and what an interesting intro, would you say, because we got something dynamite for your taste buds today. We are going to make pizza in this bowl. We are going to make our own dough with this pizza. We got tons of cheese here. We got sugar, we got olive oil, we got sea salt, the pizza sauce. We got the flour, we got the rolling pin, we got pepperoni. Mamma mia, Michelina, pepperoni, ay, ay, ay. We even got the yeast. We are going to make all of this the correct way and not the way that you remember when Ty made pizza. You remember that episode when Ty wanted to make pizza? He messed it up. So I'm going to correct all those mistakes by doing my own pizza. And not only am I going to show you how to make pizza the right way, I'm also going to show you how to make stuffed crust pizza. Stuffed crust.
Stuffed crust pizza?
Yes, and to do that, you need some of these. Chuck E. Cheese string cheese. Yes, Chuck E. Cheese makes a string cheese.
I love string cheese.
Well, we'll be using this in the well, no, that's for the crust.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if you want to get on the upper crust, follow these directions. First of all, what we're going to do is we are going to get a bowl like this. We are going to start off with putting in 2 packages of dry active yeast. It has to be dry active yeast. Why? Because dry active yeast means that it is self-rising. Meaning that if it's warm enough, it'll rise on its own, and that's what we needed to do before we bake it. That's something Ty did not think of. When you're making pizza dough, always remember when you're working with yeast to get the self-rising kind, let it rise, then you build the crust out of it. Not to belittle him in any way, shape, or form, but that is the proper way to do things. So dump that yeast right in the bowl. And now go for package number 2. Only takes 2.
It takes 2, baby.
Just me and you, and you, and you, and him in the back there, and him, and her, and everybody. Okay, now, we are going to toss away the packages of yeast, discard those, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar into that bowl.
Sugar.
2 level tablespoons.
No. Why do we add sugar?
We make it a little sweet.
Sweet dough is good.
And it also helps the bread to rise because the yeast feeds off of the sugar.
That too. But let me show you what Ty used as a tablespoon. He used, well, I'll just show you the video footage. I really hate to refer to that video footage, but this is what you don't want to do.
Tablespoon. So we're going to put 2 in there.
This is what you do want to do. So get yourself some measuring spoons. This is formulated to measure ingredients. It's very vital in making pizza. Okay, next we are going to add the water. And make sure it's hot water. Tap hot is fine. And this is also distilled water. Add all of that stuff together. And we are going to use a regular stirring spoon and stir all of this mucky muck up.
It kind of looks like mucky muck.
It does, doesn't it? While we're at it, 2 tablespoons of salt. Got some right here.
Not just any salt.
You can use kosher salt, sea salt, iodized salt, but kosher or sea are recommended.
Yeah.
We prefer sea salt.
Sea salt is good.
Sea salt is really good. It makes stuff taste really good.
Yes, it does. Okay, so
And
2
it's
level
kosher,
tablespoons.
What?
And it's kosher too.
True.
Yep. So 2 level tablespoons of sea salt. You're going to stir all of this stuff up together until you see a nice light tan liquid.
And it starts to bubble slightly.
It's already starting to bubble there, so once everything is dissolved, we're going to let it stand for about 5 to 10 minutes until it starts foaming up. And then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients by hand. Because no proper way to make pizza the old-fashioned way than to make it by hand. We're looking at about 5 to 10 minutes. So get this really foamy, and then we'll add the flour, the olive oil, and we'll just stir it as we go until this spoon cannot stir that dough anymore. And then we'll refer to our hands and keep stirring and keep stirring and keep stirring until you get a nice elasticy dough.
Now, is this going to be messy?
It could be messy, depends on how you take it, you see. What we're going to do is we will set aside 6 cups of flour.
Now, that's a dry cup there, isn't it?
This is a dry measuring cup.
That should do it.
Will that hold 6 cups?
It should.
Maybe.
Maybe.
If not, we can go something bigger, but here we go. Now make sure that it is pretty level. It could be a little bit heaping. A little bit, not too much. There's 1 cup. Just dip it right in there like an excavator on the work site in construction work. There it goes. There's 2 cups of flour. We're gonna need something bigger.
Or another bowl.
Or another one of those. There's 3. Shake out any little excess there. 3 cups.
I could probably handle maybe 4 cups in there, maybe.
Probably. Let's give it a shot here. Yeah, a little more than that because that's not quite level.
We have a little flour in
There we
our
go.
house if you need more.
Oh, I got more.
Okay.
There's 4 cups. Can we actually fit all 6 of them in there? Can we try to attempt to do so?
You can probably get maybe 1 more cup in there.
Let's try.
A little try.
Certainly will. Okay, that's about 5 cups there. There's 6. 6 full cups of flour. Now, with the flour that fell onto the rolling pin, just do like this. Because you will need flour coated on your rolling pin. So that way,
It's ready.
it's ready to go. Now, expect a mess when you work with flour. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil now. And as you can see, our mixture is nice and foamy. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is preferred. 1 and 2. Perfect tablespoons of olive oil. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to stir the mixture. Stir. That's going to be a constant running gag now, ever since I did that on the 1 episode.
Yeah.
Okay, now while we're stirring,
Try not to let the cheese fall in.
yes, we're going to add our flour and stir while we add flour. Because we're making this by hand. Something else that Ty didn't do. He added all the ingredients and mixed it all together. And there we go.
And now comes the fun part.
Mixing it.
Mixing it all together.
Now you're using your hands there, but can you also use a spoon or a whisk?
Actually, yes, you can. Actually,
So
Yeah,
slowly mix your flour until it gets too stiff to stir with a spoon. And then we're going to let our hands do the rest of the work. So yes, you're going to use your hands for this. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you do it this way. So what we're going to do is knock the rest of that down off the spoon.
Yeah, look at that.
Use your finger. See how sticky that is?
Sticky.
But it's stiff enough to where you can work with your hands now and just dump the rest of that in there and start using it a little bit at a time. Do a little kneading, add a little more flour, do a little more kneading. You get the picture.
This is where another set of hands really comes in handy.
So, add some flour, and then go to work in kneading the dough. We
Now-
knead this dough.
What if you wanted to just add all of your flour in all at once?
You don't really want to do that too quickly. You want to do this nice and slow. It's a very slow process. So you want to actually feel the consistency. Now see, half of it is nice and doughy. The other half is really sticky. So we got to take the sticky part up here, and then the extra set of hands here will help with the flour on the top of that. A little more. That should be good. Okay. Now, cover the stickiest parts with more flour. Knead that into the dough. And you'll notice that your stickiness will slowly wither away into nice, pasty. It's still very sticky because you're working in kneading the dough. You basically work the dough into, or the flour into your dough. But as you do that, the sticky inside will come to the outside. So you'll need to add more dough as you go, or more flour as you go along. Okay, that should be good. You'll be adding all 6 cups.
Eventually.
But it's a very slow process. You knead, you add. You knead, you add. It'll give you an opportunity to work with your hands and an opportunity to make something from scratch, completely from scratch.
More!
Okay, now squeeze and
Turn.
knead. Fold, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until you got a nice long piece of flour. And squeeze it into each self, implode it, turn it over, squeeze, flip it, squeeze, squeeze. squeeze. And we'll probably be ready for the rest.
There's
Flour
still
here.
about a cup and a half left in here.
We use all 6 cups for this recipe. And you can see it's still... Now what we're looking for
Is
is a nice elasticy feel.
Yeah, kind of rubbery
We're
elastic.
starting to get that here, so let's see what happens when we add the rest of that. Then
Just-
just dump the rest of it in there, and we're good to go. The rest of the flour, knead that sucker into your dough like this, and it'll help to knead, turn. That way, any excess of flour will be kneaded right into your dough and right into the middle there.
Now, is there a time when you can take a break in this? That, like, say, not everybody has that strong upper body strength.
If you don't have the strong upper body strength, you can always ask somebody else to do this for you.
Or you can take turns.
Or you can take turns. That's right. But you really need to have good strong fingers and good strong muscles to knead pizza dough.
And you know, this is actually a very good recipe to do with kids too.
Oh,
because
yes.
They will feel accomplished with helping mom or dad in the kitchen with making dinner.
Yep. Okay, now as you can see, adding all that flour, and we still got a lot down there. This will help keep the dough. Now, around this time, when you've added all your flour, I'm going to press this all down with your knuckles, like this. And then flip it over and continue. Press that stuff down. Okay, now the rest of this flour, you notice that a lot of the flour will not go into your dough. If that happens, all you gotta do is just come over here to your tablespoon and get a little bit of water here and there. Just dump that in there. 1 tablespoon. I'm gonna start with 2. And get the rest of that flour.
So you want to make sure that all the flour that you put in goes directly into the dough.
It would be nice, yes. So you're probably not going to get every single bit of flour there into your dough, but just keep kneading, add water if necessary, and then just knead it right back into the dough. And you'll feel it sticky because you just added moisture back into it. And the flour helps dry all that out and makes it into a nice dough. What we're going to need also is and make sure that your dough is not too dry.
Yeah. And the oil actually kind of helps with keeping it moist as well.
Yes, it does, and that's why we're using extra virgin olive oil, not cooking oil, and definitely not vegetable oil. We're using olive oil.
What's the difference?
Olive oil is flavorful, and it also has a more of an oily substance than vegetable oil does.
Oh yeah.
Maybe another quarter. It's something to work with. You want to make sure your dough does not get crackly and too dry. You want to make sure that when you knead your dough, it is a nice, even, nice elasticy feel.
But it's not as important as our pizza dough.
That's right. If you hear something happen in the house, look at the dough. See how it's nice and elasticy? Like that?
Yeah.
When you stretch it and it doesn't come apart? That's what we're looking for in our dough.
Still got a little bit of flour there, but it's almost all in the dough.
It's almost all there.
Oh, I heard that from over here.
Yeah, my fingers went snap, crackle, pop.
This is the proper way to make dough.
Yes, it is. Because remember, in our other video, Ty used a whisk. And here's that footage.
Probably would have been better with a spoon. Look at this.
Yeah, it's all cheap.
It's all tasted now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Out.
See how much dough got stuck in that whisk? Don't use a whisk. If you got an electric mixer, that would be best. Because electric mixers are made to make dough. Oh yes, this is nice.
That looks really good.
Yeah, this is nice. This is just what we want right here.
That looks like
No
the
more
kind
water will be added.
That looks like the kind of dough you definitely would find like in a restaurant.
In a pizza shop, yeah.
That's right. So this is exactly what we want. It's not too sticky and still
Stretchy.
nice and stretchy and elasticy. A little bit sticky, but that's okay. Just take some of the excess flour that you got in the bowl and just kind of tap it around. And now what we're going to do, to make sure that the dough doesn't stick to the bowl, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our trusty olive oil again. And here's my little secret. get some on your hand there, right, like this. Get it like a nice little dollop of your hand. And then pick the dough up with your other hand and just rub it. Rub it. Just like that, nice coating.
And yes, this
oil.
does add a little more moisture, but
Yes, but it's necessary because
Yeah.
it prevents your dough from sticking to the bowl. Get another good handful and pick up and resume again on the other side. Just rub that in there. Give it a nice good massage. Okay.
now, if you wanted to flavor your dough, for example, like with garlic or
Oh yeah,
rosemary,
garlic butter, rosemary, basil. You can
when-
flavor it with that kind of stuff
when
too.
you're adding the flours, when you want to add those ingredients as well.
You want to wait after the dough has been baked and then you're letting it cool. You want to brush it on the corner on
Well,
this
I
side.
was meaning if you wanted the flavor all the way through.
If you want it all the way through, you can, but I prefer to have it brushed around the edges because you're already having plenty of flavor in the middle.
True.
And you're already having that flavor in your sauce as well, so it could be a little bit too much extra. But for the crust, to maintain moisture and give it nice flavor, what I recommend is melting some butter, real butter, adding a little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of basil, or rosemary if you prefer rosemary. Or oregano, if
Or
you
a mix
prefer
of all
oregano.
of them.
Or a mix of all. Or you can just take Italian seasoning. However your taste, you mix that in with your butter and garlic, and then you take a pastry brush and you brush it around the crust, and then go for your Parmesan cheese and sprinkle that over the crust and let it dry. Okay, so we're going to take some wax paper, usually preferred some saran wrap, plastic wrap, and put that over the bowl. But you can use wax paper. It will still maintain its moisture, hence the wax, and all you do is cover it. Let's use the other side because it's curled that direction. So, and what we're also going to need to do is put it in a nice warm place. We got the dough in a nice warm environment, but just in case it needs to be warmer because it is not really quite warm.
About
Turn your
200.
oven on to about, I'd say about 250.
250? Okay.
Maybe 3 to get it warmed up and then reduce it to 250. But what you want to do is keep it on a nice hot surface. So if your surface isn't hot enough, make it hot enough. So start off with 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Let it turn up to preheated level, and then once it's done preheating, turn it down to 250 and leave it alone for about an hour. And what's going to happen is this dough is going to rise. It's self-rising yeast. This is how it's self-rising. Because you can put dough together and look at it and notice that it's not rising. It takes an hour for the self-rising yeast to rise in the dough. We are going to jet down to Kroger real quick in the time that's going to take to rise. And we're going to pick up some extra ingredients for our pizza. So, who wants what on their pizza? That's the time to ask, and that's the time to run to the grocery store and grab any extra ingredients, because as you know, the freshest ingredients are always the best ingredients, and it's always best to get your ingredients the day you make your pizza. Because, let me tell you, mushrooms go bad after a couple of days. You have to use it right away. Black olives, although canned, but still best to get the fresh ones you can cut yourself. Anchovies.
No.
No anchovies. Pineapple, best to get it fresh and cut it fresh. Why? Because you don't want it to sit out because it becomes soggy or dry.
Or if you have to get the canned stuff, don't get it in heavy syrup. Get it in liquid, in
water.
water.
Get it in water, or pineapple juice would be even better because it's more flavorful.
Yeah.
But never get it in oil. In fact, that's the same thing for your tuna. If you want to put tuna on your pizza, that's not a bad idea too. But
I've never had tuna on a
different type
pizza.
of pizza. We'll show you different types of recipes on the recipe board. Whenever we can get the website updated, then you can usually download our recipe on our website, but we really need to update that website. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an hour, we're going to head down to Kroger, get some extra ingredients, and when we come back, we're going to show you how to put it all together from that point to that point to that point, and to this point. I got pepperoni, 2 varieties. I got the standard pepperoni, turkey pepperoni for watching your weight. I watch it all the time. Hey, somebody's got to watch my figure, right?
No one else is going to do it.
Exactly. And we got bacon, and meatballs. We got sausage in a log. We got toppings galore. And I just knocked my fork into the sink. This fork is going to be puncturing our dough. Why do we do that? I'll tell you why. Prevents air bubbles. How many times have you ordered pizza and they don't poke the dough and it comes back to you with bubbles here, bubbles there, bubbles all over the place? Dough is basically like a pillow. And if air gets into there, then it makes it hollow and the air just puffs up like a pillow. But we can alleviate that by taking a fork and just doing a little all over the dough, except for the crust, of course, because we definitely want that to rise. So in the circumference of where you're going to be putting your topping, that's where you want to poke. But speaking of dough, let's check it out. Oh wow, look at that. That has risen, doubled its size. Let's turn this off now and take a look at our dough. Now that is self-rising yeast at its best. So now we're going to take this nice oiled dough, which is still kind of warm to the touch because it was in a warm area. Flip that over a bit. It's nice and moist on the other side. It smells like pizza dough to me. Alright, so what we're going to do here is going to pick up the dough. We're going to separate this in half and it's going to make two 14 to 15 inch pies. Now we're going to need a little bit more leeway because we're going to be putting stuffed crust into this. So that means we need a little bit more on the outside of the crust so we can fold it over and stuff our cheese. So what we're going to do here is we're going to divide this in half and you do a little compare and contrast by weight and size. And that's about the same weight, so that should be about good. Let's take one of these over here and drop it right there. I'm going to press it down a little bit like this, a little bit like that, flip it, get it all nice and covered in the dough or in the flour. Get your dough nice and covered in the flour because we will need to roll. It also helps to have a nice sturdy surface. So flatten this out by using the roller. Kind of work it in as best as you can, turn it around like this, and then go this way, kind of flatten it out with the roller, and just go around and around and around, making a nice, flat, circular disc. Okay, so that's about as best as we can get it. So let's flip it over and do the same over here. Lengthwise, widthwise. Until it's nice and flat like this. Flip it over and do as wide as you can until you get to be about that point. Now, you can just use this to toss back and forth from your left hand to your right hand, and if you're good enough, you can start flipping it, but only if you're good enough. And I'm not that good. So we're just going to flip this back and forth, and what you're doing here is this enables your dough to flatten where it's heaviest in the middle, and using centrifugal force to help shape and to enlarge your pizza dough. And as you can see, it's already doing its trick. See that? Except for this part over here, which needs to be worked on a little bit more, but keep on doing this. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Slam it if you have to. And you'll see that it's very smooth. Now if you get to that point and you want to use the roller some more, feel free. You can use a combination of flipping it, tossing it, rolling it, whatever you can do to make it expand, whatever you can do to make it flatter. But making pizza dough, especially pizza crust, takes a lot of elbow work, a lot of elbow grease. So this is definitely not for the faint of muscle. If you got the muscle power, then by all means use it. Just toss this back and forth, and you get a nice flat thing of dough like this. And this will be about, I'd say about 14-15 inches long. If we had a ruler, we'd measure it. But this will help ensure that. Now, to use your fists, basically what you're doing is you're punching upward and stretching at the same time. But you don't want to stretch too far because then you'll stretch your dough. Okay, so now we got our pizza dough to be as flat and as rounded as possible. And you can cut that right off. In fact, that's not a bad idea. Let's go ahead, just take a knife and just cut around here, get the corner here, cut to where you think will make the best circle. Then you can take this and pop it in there. Now we're talking circular. So
It looks a lot better.
that looks a lot better. Now, what we're gonna do, take our fork here, and we're just gonna go like this, very gently, round and around, where you think you're gonna need to put the toppings. And all through here. All through the middle where you're gonna put your toppings down. And the more holes, the less likely you're gonna run into air pockets. And I hate air pockets on pizza, don't you folks? This is what my brother taught me. You take the string cheese, and the fun part, assembling your string cheese. There's the flat part, end to end, edge to edge, and we fold it over. It's always best to use string cheese because you don't have to worry about shreds. Perfect. That's about how many you need. Now, what we're going to do here is going to try to fold this over to where it doesn't tear your dough. Fold it over like this to leave plenty of room. And just take the next one. Fold it over. Plenty of room. And if you need to, roll it a little bit inward like that. Keep rolling it over. Keep rolling it over. Now, you want to make sure when you roll this over that the dough from rolling over the crust and the dough that you're working with touches, because that's what's going to be baking right in. It's got to touch and it's got to stay. Now look, see, I'm already running into a hole there. This is the tough parts, and if you run into that, just get some excess dough and just sort of patch it. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to pinch so that way it touches, and there's a little bit of excess touching onto the bottom part of our crust, like this, like this, like that, like that. Stretch it if you can. Be very, very careful not to tear your dough. And then get some water on hand. What you're going to need to do is moisten your fingers as you go along. Moisten it to where the dough sticks. Work all the way around. Make sure that's all sticking in place. Then we're going to let that dry. Okay, so now it's starting to look like a stuffed crust pizza should. And we're going to do this with 2 pizzas. And I found that just for safe measure, you definitely don't want any open spaces in your crust when you stuff your pizza. So take some of this extra dough that we've used to cut around the circumference, flatten that out until it's nice and very thin, and then you place it around the edge over the crease, sealing all of your cheese in. And I did that for both pizzas, sealed it in. And now it is airtight, locked in, and ready for the oven once we top our pizzas. And basically all you need is just some water to moisten it, and it'll adhere right to it so that it turns out just like this, flawless and airtight. And now we can work on putting toppings on it. Let's start with this one because it's more readily available than this one, which still needs a little bit more to dry, but that's okay. Now, we're talking pizza sauce. And for the best results, you can use a ladle or just use a spoon. You can use the back of it to spread it around a bit like this, and like this, and like this. Get it everywhere. And sometimes you have to cater to your tastes. If you like a lot of sauce, then use a little extra. Don't use too much. You don't want this too heavy.
Of course, with Sonic, he loves.
I love extra sauce.
He loves extra sauce.
Yes, I do. So using the back of the spoon, use it to spread your sauce until you get a nice thin and even. Go like this, go like this. Now you notice that some of the extra sauce here is kind of pushed all over the place. Just kind of work that in a bit with the back of the spoon until you get to the edge of your pizza pie. Just like this. Go around like this, very lightly with the back of the spoon, so that it's easier to spread. So there you go, there's a good sauce pizza. And look how much sauce we have left. See, you only need 1 jar. The rest of it can go in the refrigerator because we've already opened it and we need to refrigerate this after you open it. Now, the next thing you want to do is work on your cheese. This is a nice mixture of mozzarella and parmigiana and provolone. And just take the cheese and go around like this. Like this. You might get a little extra cheese in one area, that's okay. When we're done with this and we have a free hand, we're going to even that out. You take some of the clumps here and just go again. Make it nice and even. around the edge. A nice dusting of cheddar on top of that. You never have too much cheese on a pizza. That's what they usually say. You can never have too much cheese. So, nice light dusting of cheddar. Sharp cheddar. The sharper the better. Now, to put pepperonis on a pizza, it's best to start on the outer there and work your way in. And you can do it in a swirl, a bullseye, however you want, for however many pepperonis you think you're going to need. I also have traditional run-of-the-mill pepperoni too, so in case I run out of these, I can use some regular as well. Pepperoni. It looks like I will have to use some of that too. Oh, that's good pepperoni. Next, let's take some of the sausage. It got a little overcooked. I was in the living room working on this while the sausage was cooking, and let's just say that I kind of left it a little bit too long, so it's nice and crispy. That's okay. Take your sausage crumblings and crumble it all over the top of that. Now remember, extra cheese is going over the top of this, so that way all your toppings will be held in place. So there you go. A little bit here, a little bit there. There you go. Canadian back bacon, or Canadian bacon, or back bacon, however you want to call it. We do need to scissors to get into this, so just cut that around. Because all of our back bacon is going onto this pizza. So here we go. Back bacon, which is also healthier for you than traditional American bacon. Back bacon. So there's going to be a sandwich of the bacon. That's a thick piece of bacon there. Sausage there with the pepperoni and the cheese. There you go. You can also cut this up into shreds or even pieces.
You think you're gonna have enough room for all that?
We'll find a way. If you don't get the crushed pineapple, which is what usually comes in the pizza restaurants, then just take a pineapple slice like this and just tear it. You don't even need a knife to cut it because you just tear it. There we go. That's all the pineapple you really need to put on there. And now, our traditional American friend, the bacon. We have purchased bacon that has already been completely cooked. So all you really need to do is open this bag, cut this bacon up into pieces, but we love bacon. So we're going to top this one with good old American heart-stopping, colon-blocking bacon. Right over here.
Colon blocking? Really?
Oh yes, if you clog an artery with the pizza, that must be good. Meatballs on that one. Now, just around and around and around with meatballs. Meatballs galore. Always get the pre-cooked ones. If your meatballs are not pre-cooked, you'll have to cook them beforehand. Do not put these on raw. If you're making your own meatballs, don't make the meatballs and then put them right on without cooking them. For God's sakes, don't do that. Because you can easily get E. coli from eating undercooked beef. That would not be good. So pre-cook the meatballs, and if they already come pre-cooked, then great. Pre-cook the meatballs and then slice them in half. Use the flat side to pop right onto the top of your pizza. Just like that. Top the rest of that off with the rest of the cheese. And this will hold all of your toppings in place. This is a monster pizza to die for. Remember, you don't want to make it too heavy, so kind of go a little easier on the cheese than you did before. This one will need a lot because this one's a bigger pizza, so just kind of sprinkle it over. Get it nice and evenly spread till all of your toppings are covered in cheese. That's all you really need. That is it. Now, we are going to preheat our oven. Let's preheat that baby to 375. Meet it in the middle. 375. I'm going to put my rolling pin away and I'm going to get rid of this because we didn't need to use that. And these pizzas, let me just see how heavy these pizzas are going to be.
Too bad we don't have any.
Yeah, it's best if you had something to put underneath this because this is going to be a heavy pizza. So the only thing I can think of, not cardboard, because cardboard will burn and it'll smoke.
Well, yeah, but you can at least pick it up with and then just slide it in.
We can do that.
And I don't.
Or what we could do is grab a cookie sheet and have it on the back of the cookie sheet. So,
That'll work.
let me grab that. Grab a cookie sheet. Okay, and just use the back of it. Lengthwise, of course, because it's oblong. Okay, we're just going to tiny, carefully move pizza off of here and onto here. Carefully move that.
Without moving this.
Yes, without moving that. Just remember, your pizza is now going to be very delicate, so maybe just clean that up. Let's see.
I'm
A little scared.
a little skeptical on you doing it this
Okay.
way. Because it looks like it's getting really doughy.
It is very doughy.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that.
Okay. I just need somebody to hold this while I can. Okay, got it?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, this smells like pizza. Careful. Careful.
No. Nope.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Now the fun part is going to be trying to get it out.
When it's done, it'll be crispy enough to come out.
That dough's starting to sag.
I know.
Well, one.
that.
That's good. Oh, that would have been a good idea.
I'm very careful with it because this is a very heavy pizza on very thin made pizza crust. You don't really want. This is the. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No shit. This isn't gonna work. I made it too heavy. Wow, we made a serious mess, but we made a seriously huge pizza. Look at that. That's the first one we made. And although we ran into a lot of problem trying to get it into the oven with all these toppings on there, folks, when you do your pizzas, try not to overload them because, you know, it depends on how thin your crust is. It depends on how well your pizza will slide into the oven. And a lot of you won't probably have one of those paddles that you can slide underneath it.
No.
But if you have one of those, get one. Okay, but this pizza looks good enough to eat. Look at the crust is done pretty good. Didn't lose too much cheese, but you can see around here. You'll probably have some cheese loss, but it shouldn't be all that bad. But look how thick this crust came out.
Yeah.
And look at the toppings, nice and well done there. And we're gonna be brushing that with some butter and also some basil. Actually, I got basil right here somewhere. This one I had the biggest pain with, but looks like. Oh yeah, and folks, try not to cook it in cardboard because not only are you going to have the flavor of cardboard in your pizza, you're also going to fill the house up with smoke.
Not a lot of toppings came off.
And you didn't lose that much cheese. Your toppings will cook just like that. Your crusts will take longer, so you're going to need to slow cook it from the outside in. And basically, to do that, you have to reduce the temperature to 275 to 300 and cook it a little longer. But as you can see, we made 2 big pizzas loaded with toppings. Now, before we even dip into that pizza, we got garlic powder, we got Italian seasoning, we got butter. We will need a lot of butter, so about that much, maybe 4 tablespoons of butter. And we're using real butter, not imitation, not margarine. The butter melts better, it's thicker, it'll go on better. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of these ingredients, dust it with some garlic powder, about that much. We're going to melt all of this in the microwave for about 20 seconds. There we go. Ooh, it's bubbling now, and it might be too hot to handle, so handle it with a napkin. Okay, that thing is sizzling, bubbling, and hot. So be careful when you handle stuff. And what we're going to do here is we're going to just take a, where's the pastry board? Here or something. Or you can get one with silicone on it. And what we're going to do is just push that down into the buttery goodness. I'll kind of stir it in, tap it down, stir it in, tap it down, do whatever you can. And if you got a good portion already, let's just take that brush, get it nice and soaked, and then just brush right over there. And look at that. Ooh, just brush it all over. You're gonna make another mess, but it's worth it. My favorite touch is to dust that with Parmigiana. Big one. it broken down. Just tap it around, tap it around, tap it around. Parmigiana for your pizza crust. Notice that there are no air bubbles too. We solved that problem. We solved that issue. Okay, there we go. Parmigiana. Put Parmesan away. And let's get it slicing this up. I want to try this out. Oh, I can smell garlic on there already. Oh boy. Cut through all that great big amount of topping. It might not look perfectly round, but in the home you can't really ask for too much because you cut it this way, you cut it that way, and it helps to have a little extra finger. And then cut through those toppings. Make sure you don't cut through your finger. Now, I'm going to, ooh, that's hot. Whoa, that's hot. Okay, come on, plate. I'm letting it down now. Okay, whoa, hot. Let's get a couple of pieces over there. Ooh, hot. Big slices of pizza, and I bet you they won't taste like bricks. And look, you can look inside. See, there's the cheese. There might not be much because of the way it was cooked. Okay, there's the pizza. There's Wolf Dog.
Hi.
There's the pizza. And there's Wolf Dog. Now, before you take your first bite,
Yeah.
I have to ask you, is your stomach prepared for this?
I'm hoping so.
Now,
The fun part is gonna be you need to use like 2 hands for this pizza.
alright, so here we go.
Let's see.
Bite of pizza, and there we go. And what do you think?
Actually, it definitely tastes better than it does.
Definitely tastes better. Well, there you go. Well, you've heard it from Wolf Dog, and now, despite the mishap, I think we managed to pull it off. So, what have we learned from this? Well, number one, prepare your meal better. Prepare your toppings better. Instead of you cutting the meatballs in half, cut them into quarters or thirds, or cut them really, grind them up, or just make ground beef and just toss that on top instead of the meatballs. Okay. The outer crust itself, very flavorful. The butter idea works like a charm. Not only does it give you flavor, but it takes away that dryness. And adding the seasoning really puts in a lot of flavor into your pizza crust. I must say, all in all, I am impressed. Not mainly because of how well the pizza came out, but the fact is that we made this pizza turn out this way, rather than all over the floor. Because I could have just tossed my hands up and admitted defeat. I could have done that, but you know, it was late. We spent a lot of money on the ingredients. I was going to make this work, and that's exactly what I set out to do. So, don't be afraid to experiment with your pizzas, but remember, less toppings, more scattered. Try that at home. And also, if you're going to cook a pizza, invest in some pizza pans, because that will help you slide the pizza in and out of your oven. Hey, Sagen, what you got there?
Pizza!
Does it look like pizza?
It looks like pizza.
Does it smell like pizza?
Yes.
It does, okay.
It smells, it looks like pizza.
Lots of topping.
Falling apart.
It's falling all over the place, but
That is the markings of a good pizza and a homemade pizza.
from scratch. You saw us do it from point A to point Z. Is it pizza?
That's pizza.
That's pizza.
Wow.
Now try a bit of the crust, the end crust, just to see what you think about the flavor.
What it was.
Oh. I can taste the garlic.
Yep, garlic butter and the Italian seasoning.
That's good pizza.
That's pretty much a wrap. So for Cooking with SonicBlu, I'm SonicBlu Darkfold. Good luck with your pizza.
Pizza!
Pizza?
Pizza!
Pizza.
Pizza! 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 Pizza!
Pizza!
Oh, this is some great buzz. Extra virgin olive oil? So really, how much of a virgin are you, little miss?
Hey, Alice.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, you know that was coming.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
need Popeye tonight.
Hey, Alex. Go.
Because you don't want your pizza dough to be too dry. What the heck was that? You don't want anything sticking to your counter.
No.
And that's good, right? Like that. And even if you're looking for some more entertainment, you can play a little tic-tac-toe right here.
And you won it.
Yes, I did. I won tic-tac-toe. Wow. I never win tic-tac-toe. Oops.
And try not to hold the rolling bit of the rolling.
No, you don't want to do that. It makes for a very dry tasting pizza.
Pause.
Oh, damn it.
And there goes
Son of a crow. Shoot. Oh, cheese and whiskers. Freshness.
Yeah, I think we probably made it a little
Too heavy?
a little
well.
too heavy, yeah.
Ah,
I told you. I told you.
This was perfect, and now I can't do anything. Look at that. Son of a...
Yeah, you made it way too heavy.
All that
That is
topping.
a homemade pizza for you right there.
Yep, it's oblong. It's not perfectly round. It's homemade through and through. So, yay for homemade pizza. And
Two paws
booze.
up.
2 paws up and booze.
And booze.